sound great.
Oh, great. Wow.
If you're
You
on
sound
Instagram Live,
incredible.
you should be on our YouTube.
Woo. All right. Well, we're now live on my Instagram. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Explain It. This is your captain speaking, Caroline Kane. I have my lovely co-host, Ingrid Hernandez, over here with the most handsome guy that I know, Marlon Johnson. And he wore his normal size shirt so we could see his shoulders that are boulders today. So I'm excited for everything that we have in store for you guys. Just a reminder, this is a free podcast that we have so that we can educate more people and get them involved. We cover a lot of stuff in here. And today we're going to be going over mindset with the Mindset Guys. You can see on his photo there, it says Mindset Marlon. That's his Instagram, his YouTube. I'm sure that's probably what one of your bank accounts is called. So if you guys are nice enough, he might send you a wire or you might wire him. I'm not sure. But today is all about mindset. I'm going to let Marlon and Ingrid take it away here. So Ingrid, we just wrapped up having your daughter who got over a little mindset issue out in the hallway, who made her first few calls trying to buy a property.
Yeah.
What are we doing today?
She got her first appointment too right before this. So that's why I was like rushing into here. So you will be doing a follow call tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay. I think it's in California. But
cool.
Yeah, we just finished. I don't know where I'm looking over there, right?
Yep, over there.
We just finished the Paces Mastermind. It was so amazing. And I think it's like my 6th mastermind or something like that. And the momentum it builds for you, the perspective it puts you in when you get back into your business is pretty awesome. But one of the things that happened this week, which is not typical of these masterminds. So I was teaming up with my boy DQ, Daniel Quijano. Shout out to Daniel Quijano. He and I started unraveling a lot of mindset things. And we were sitting there, right? We hear Pace, we hear Jamil, we hear Brent Daniels. They all say like more or less information, more action.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the thing that keeps you from doing the action? And it's mindset. Like I just had a conversation, right? Our 13-year-old daughter, she's like, I'm afraid, Mom. And I was like, okay. I was like, what are you afraid of? She's like, well, what if I lose you, the seller? And I'm like, but are you going to lose your birthday? Like, it's okay. She's like, what if I mess up? I'm like, please mess up a lot. You're 13. They can't hold you accountable as an adult. We're good. So yeah. It's that mind stuff.
I love that because it's huge. I mean, a lot of people, they don't move forward because they're afraid. It's being worried about the what ifs, what if. I hear it all the time. Like, Marlon, what if this goes wrong? What if this breaks? You know what people never ask?
What if it goes right?
What if it goes right? What if it works out exactly how you said it would?
Mm-hmm.
What if everything works out in the end? Why does no one ever ask that what if question?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mindset is absolutely critical. It's the thing that ultimately, I know for me, it's changed everything about my life. It's changed everything about everything. Hence the name Mindset Marlon. If people met me a decade ago, 10 years ago, day and night, different human being. I mean that just in the most absolute way. And I'm happy to share about that, to get into that story. We could take this conversation wherever y'all want. I don't want to hijack you guys' show.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about you. So full disclosure, Marlon is my performance coach. We actually own this house together, the Mindset Manor. And going through that process, especially since it was such a high ticket property, like it made me nervous at first, but then it just became a number. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't tripping about what the mortgages. I was like, you know what? I must have raised my money temperature, like my internal temperature about what kind of deals we can deal with. And so thanks to you and our awesome tenants like Caroline, living here in this awesome entrepreneur incubator. But tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get here and what's coming up?
Now, before you say anything, I'm going to chime in. I am only a tenant here because of Marlon. I chose to live here because Marlon was in here. So not to toot Marlon's horn, but I'm going to toot Marlon. Like I've known Marlon since
I got captain.
I know. Yeah. Right. I can say that as the captain of the Zoom or this podcast, but I chose this because actually the other night we had dinner out in our backyard. You know what? We need to set that up for podcasts because it's so sick. It's just hard to get everybody around the camera. But the reason I chose to live here was because of the vibrations that Marlon has and the way that, like, I remember Marlon and I both got into the real estate mentorship at the same time, and we both had like no money. You were living at home with your mom. I mean, I'm sure you had a little money, more money than me, but I remember at that December, I called Marlon. I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I have $15 in my bank account. Like, I did not focus. I was all over the place. I was distracted by shiny object syndromes. And Marlon has just been that guy in my life that I've called. Like, I've told him this so many times. I love him. He's a brother to me. Like, I would put myself across a puddle so Marlon wouldn't have to step in the puddle, because he is one of the best human beings I know. And this says a lot. We actually had this conversation on a Wednesday night, a special night for us. But I remember telling Marlon that he is a guy that makes me feel safe. And that's a very strong statement coming from a woman. I know most women, we've had instances where we're like, this guy gives me the creeps. If you guys ever have the opportunity to meet Marlon, first introduce yourself and say what's up. But Marlon Johnson is by far one of my favorite human beings. And my favorite thing about Marlon is Marlon makes me uncomfortable. And Marlon makes me uncomfortable because, Marlon, I want you to talk about parkour and everything. One of my favorite things you've said is with parkour, because you used to teach it to kids, you told them to focus on one thing at a time. And if you guys did not know this, I have ADHD. And it's just been, I used to be like, I can multitask. Like, I used to be a general manager of a restaurant. Like, I can put out 17 fires at once. Like, I know how to handle like tough situations. And when you want to scale and you want to like get to the next level of your life in that uncomfort zone, you have to be willing to say no. And it has been so fun living with you. And because like I get coaching living with Marlon, and that's one of the best, that's really why I moved into this house. One of the best parts is seeing you say no and focus on one thing at a time. So I just wanted to give that quick little intro about Marlon Johnson. So when you guys come into this, you're actually paying attention, because he's probably going to drop some sauce. And what you write is what you invite. So if you're listening to this recording or if you're live right now, please throw questions in the side chat for him. This is an opportunity. We have 51 more minutes with him on here. Maybe we can squeeze out 52 because he's really nice. But ask your questions in the side chat. And if you are coming late to this, throw your questions in the comments after the fact. And I'll ask Marlon to check on this. The whole thing that I'd like to do, I'm going to give you guys my upfront contract here. Please get on Marlon's YouTube if you haven't already. Give him a subscribe. Give him a like. Click the like on here. This is a free podcast. We just want to help more people get to their goals and manifest your dreams faster. So I want to give that little caveat before I let Marlon talk. So Marlon, I love you. Take it away.
Dang, that's awesome. I feel like,
right?
wow, right? Like, it's so nice. Do it again.
Boy.
I'm gonna just keep coming back on just for the introductions. So that means the world to me. I absolutely love that. And I love that you said, like, although I make you feel safe, I make you uncomfortable, because discomfort is a very powerful thing for getting us to grow, getting us to take action and move to that next direction. Also, if you see myself or Ingrid doing that, we're just trying to read stuff on
below
the screen.
You're just like, I really like the discomfort in that.
Yeah. So I guess like let me back it up. You know, Ingrid asked a little earlier, essentially like how I even got here into this world of real estate and entrepreneurship. And it's funny, Caroline, you know, I was sharing it this morning when we were doing the Daily Dial. We had, you know, about 120 people on a sales training call this morning at 5 a.m. And I was briefly explaining to them that having clarity on where you want to go is important. And sometimes when we get started on our journey, we don't actually know where we want to go. We just simply know where we don't want to go.
Yep.
And that's where I found myself a couple of years back. I found myself standing I used to work in a catering hall at Elks Lodge, if anyone's ever heard of that, or like a Knights of Columbus.
Oh.
And I was standing there. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. And I'm never going to forget this. I'm in the building by myself. And I've just like tossed the mop down on the floor. I'm pissed off. I'm fed up because I'm looking around, and for the very first time, I'm realizing I hate my freaking life. Like, I'm like, this ain't it. It can't be this, because I had come to this place. I'd cleaned this restaurant for the millionth time. I've walked in on a Friday night and a Saturday night where I have a dirty.
I'm gonna clean Marlon.
Yeah, my nose gets a little sweaty.
He deserves to look good on this podcast.
My that building, it was just like disgusting. I come in there, the pots are stacked up to the ceiling. I'm running around washing and bussing, and I'm having this moment where for the very first time I I now call it the rocking chair experiment. I
Mm.
projected myself into the future. I saw myself as a 90-year-old man. And as a 90-year-old man, I'm reflecting backwards on the life I lived. And what I'm realizing was I saw it. I finished up college. I got a doctorate in physical therapy. I became a physical therapist. I was earning anywhere from $90,000 to $120,000. I got married. We had the 2 kids. We had the stupid yapping dog that just made a little bit too much noise, but can't get rid of it because now the kids are attached. And it was just a settled life. And let me just say this. If that's your dream life, I'm not hating on it.
Okay, I got 2 kids and a dog.
Yeah, right. I'm not hating on that life, but for me, it wasn't that. And so I feel like someone can relate to that.
Yeah.
That you see a picture and it's someone else's version of success, but it wasn't mine. It was totally settling. And that freaked me out to the point where I was like, I can't do this. And when I began to ask myself, well, what is it? And I'm still as a 90-year-old man in my head. I'm asking myself, what did I want to do with my life? And that 90-year-old man was thinking, I should have gone on that adventure. I should have gone out and seen what I could make of life. I should have just stepped into the unknown. And so in that moment, I wish I could say, Caroline, I was like, yeah, I knew it was going to be real estate. I knew it was going to be entrepreneurship and high performance. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew it wasn't this. And in that moment, I decided to quit. And I made up my mind that I was going to go find the next thing. So I was clear that I was going to search for what woke me up, for what resonated with me. And that's where a lot of people are right now. Like, you guys need to start there. And it's okay to be there. That sometimes your first choice and the first thing you have clarity on is, I don't know what I want, and I'm going to go figure out.
Well, I would pause and say it's okay for also, if your starting point is, I know what I don't want, because that was a motivating factor for me. And I would say I did take the path most traveled, I guess, maybe. But coming from a background where I had parents who could barely pay bills, we were constantly moving. I was like, I don't want that. I want my kids to feel safe. I want my kids to have a home that they can call theirs, feel more secured. And that's what drove me. So I didn't want the kind of environment my parents at the time had built for me. And I think it's okay if that's your motivating factor to start. But I feel like that's just the beginning. The next step is, well, then what do you want?
And that's a question that a lot of people are afraid to ask. And that's where we want to start. You have to know what resonates with you. I find a lot of the times, and I consider myself extremely fortunate to work with different entrepreneurs, different people that people come to me and they ask for help and they ask for guidance. I truly do take that as a high honor when anyone allows me into their world and into their mind. And they start to say to me like, hey, Marlon, help me. I'm trying to build out this business. I want to build my wholesale business. And I want to make, $1 million wholesale business per month. And great. Why do you want to do that? And that's where they all stop. It's so funny. 9 out of 10 people can't begin to answer why they want to do the thing that they're asking me to help them do. And when we dive deep on it and when we start to pick it apart, what you start to find out is they're chasing somebody else's dream. And that's never going to work. It's not a formula for success, because even if you achieve the result that you're racing after, you're going to find it's an empty result. This happened to me last year. I think you both know about this, that last year I got one of my biggest wholesale assignment deals. It was a $40,000 check. And I felt it was the most empty money I've ever received in my life. I legitimately felt empty. And I realized in that moment in time, it was so true what they say, that money by itself will not bring you happiness. It's how you earn the money. It's what you earn the money doing. Are you in love with the work? Yep. If not, find different work. There's a million ways to make money, but we have to start there. I mean, have y'all come across those people so far in your journey where you're finding that people are going through the motion, and maybe they're in wholesale, maybe they're in real estate, and you're looking at them and you're like, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing this. And that's okay. You probably play a different role in this industry, but it's not the one of the main character that you see on YouTube. Yeah, you don't have to mimic that person.
Yeah, I would say I do run across people like that a lot of times, and understand that there's different seasons of it or different evolutions of it. It's okay that if you're in the exploratory season, meaning you're trying to figure out where do you fit? Where do your skills align with like the best version of you? I'm listening to the Big Leap, the book that Cody Barton told me I should read right now. It's actually pretty great. And part of it is about your zone of genius. So you're trying to discover what your zone of genius actually is. And you can't get there if you don't know, right? Like he was Mr. Parkour. Like that was probably something you had a zone of genius around, right? But you probably were looking for something that was more fulfilling, that also aligned with that rocking chair
experiment.
Yeah, the rocking chair experiment. But it's okay also if you're exploring what your zone of genius is. Like what am I good at and what do I love doing that doesn't feel like work? I think once you find those elements that people like Marlon can help you get to the point where, oh, that's what I've tapped into. Oh, that's what I'm good at. I should take this path.
Yeah. Good. Essentially, here's like the mindset shift I want people to have. The mindset shift I want people to have is to sit down and actually learn that a part of getting to that place of success isn't necessarily about just achieving a monetary goal or a financial goal. Do I believe a person needs financial literacy? Absolutely. They truly do need financial literacy. That's part of building that mindset. That's a part of building that freedom. However, they also have to have understanding and knowledge of themselves. They should take time to study themselves. As much time as we take to study real estate, as we take to study finance, as we take to study business and systems and operations, you also have to include study of yourself. It's the most important topic you will ever learn about.
Know thyself.
It's important. We are the goose that lays the golden egg. So as we start to know ourselves and we start to get in touch with the things that resonate with us, what we're going to find is some people are afraid, and I want to kill this mindset off right now. They're afraid of making the wrong choice.
Been there.
Right? It happens often. I mean, that was the story of me. I was so afraid of making the wrong choice because what if I spend too much time? What if I dedicate the next 5 years doing this only to realize this isn't the thing? Right? Well, guess what, y'all? We're going to change. But here's the thing. If you're going after the thing that resonates with you, what will happen is regardless of what you're doing, it will never have been a waste because it's going to be a transferable skill that you acquired during that time. It's going to be transferable life lessons. Like I look at what I did in parkour, and that's the thing that taught me how to coach. It's the thing that taught me how to communicate. So when I rolled over into real estate, I had these transferable skills because I was following a passion.
I get it. You rolled over.
Oh, she's good. So it's important that we start looking at them when we're sitting down and we do an audit. Something I think everybody should do, and they should make time to do this. If you don't have time, find the time, make the time, clear the time to go and get a loan. Go to your beach, go to your park, go to your favorite coffee shop and sit down and begin to ask yourself the question of what do I really want? And then begin to ask yourself, why do you want it? And don't worry about coming up with an answer that's going to impress Captain Caroline. Don't worry about coming up with an answer that's going to impress Ingrid or it's going to impress your favorite guru. Come up with the answer that makes you absolutely happy. If you're a person that says, I want to earn $200,000 a year so that I can go home every day and be there for my kid's softball game, because that genuinely makes you happy, but the idea of building a multi-million-dollar business stresses you out, then you shouldn't be doing that. You should not be pursuing that. But that's the problem. Everyone is pursuing someone else's dream. This is some of the toughest work that we have to do, is being honest with us so that we can get into alignment. Caroline, I think I texted y'all earlier this week saying that the word of the week here in the house is alignment. Right? Because what is alignment? Alignment's getting into sync. It's being in sync with your goals, your desires. When we start doing that, the comparison starts to wash away. Caroline, you got off social media for a little bit, didn't you? A little while ago?
Yeah, I followed your suit. I was realizing I did a time audit. So I just completed reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And before we kind of talked about that, Ingrid and I touched base on this when she came over. I was one of those people who's like, I need to read everything. I just read a book and move on to the next section of my life. And you had brought up Can't Hurt Me, and I was like, I should touch base with that again, because when Marlon, just for everybody, I'm going to get to the social media thing here in a moment, but Marlon brought up Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and I just saw, dude, you straight up changed. Like when you listened to Can't Hurt Me again, this man was like running in like the heat in Arizona, like making zero excuses to get things done. I'm like, dang, like, and he's like, yeah, just close $100,000, like all of these things. Like, all right, I need to get back on my David Goggins like tee. I need to get back in that zone. So then I got into the Rise to 75 challenge, and I read the book, and I actually slowed down to complete the challenges. And I did a time audit on the first day of doing the time audit on the Monday. So I just told everybody to grab a journal and just write down how you're spending your time. How many times do you check your phone? How many times are you getting distracted by things? And within the first like 3 hours of me tracking my time, I think I had picked up my phone like 30 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am addicted to, and I was using it as a way for people to stay accountable, helping people stay accountable. I was answering them back. I'm like, this is not making me any money. And Marlon had just gotten off of social media. So I was like, okay, he's getting one of the things that you told me, Marlon, when you got off of Instagram, you found yourself not like reaching for your phone as much, but the creative time you had with your brain. And I found myself, one of the things I just told May this. You told me this, Ingrid, you told me this when we were driving to the mastermind. You both actually said the same thing. When you guys saw me on a Zoom the first time, when I was talking to Pace, you both were like, oh, I love her energy. I have to get to know her. And, we are our harshest critics, and we don't like see things, like I don't see myself like that. And I've had so many people be like, your energy is your superpower. And I realized I've just been like stacking. This is the perfect time for my wall of hats. I've just been stacking more stuff on top of me, and I'm getting overwhelmed by all of can I get in frame here? I'm not gonna be able to reach them all. I was wearing so many hats trying to help everybody, losing sight of what was important to me. This is Marlon's favorite hat. I just didn't know what I was doing anymore. I'm wearing all these freaking hats. Got to keep the captain one on though. And it just wasn't,
Okay.
I wasn't having fun. I really I don't even know if you noticed not Ingrid, May told me, she's like, you've been here, but your energy's been off lately. And it's just because I was like doing a self-assessment. I'm like, man, I'm not hitting my goals because I kept making excuses and I was not keeping these promises to myself. So I hope eventually you're going to talk about personal principles and what we've done. But I love living with you, Marlon, because it's been a good little reminder of, I need to keep things to the forefront. But I got off of social media for that week so I could get refocused and realigned with everything. And I will tell you, I spent today, when I was calling, I was going through my messages, multitasking. Like, okay, I can catch up with people. Instead of being on my phone every hour to respond to people, I have an hour in the afternoon. I'll reply to you, and that's it. But getting that clarity of what I want and what I don't want, and getting off of social media and letting my mind work again and be creative. Thank you so much for working on yourself so I can watch you. And then I get to copy what you're doing, and it's helping me. So anyways, I don't remember what your question was, but I got rid of social media.
Part of the week was alignment. Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
And you know what, Caroline, you nailed it. You're spot on with that. And I want to give something that's helpful and practical to the audience. I want y'all to listen to this very carefully. When we look at our resources as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as investors, as real estate investors, everyone thinks, all right, my resource. Oh, I know what my most valuable resource is. It's my network. No. It's my money. No. It's my time. Not the way you've been using it.
Yeah.
Being honest, right? Because everyone has the same allotment of time. We all have 24 hours in a day. No question about it. However, do some people get more done in 24 hours than some others?
Yep.
Absolutely. And so people think about time management. I'm going to manage time. If you can manage something, it means you can control it, right? If I'm a manager, I tell them when to come in. I tell them when to go out. I tell them when to stop, when to work. I can't do that with time. I've tried. I try to slow time down. I try to speed it up. If I had that ability, I'd be a trillionaire. But I don't know how to do it. If one of you knows how to do it, reach out, DM me, Mindset Marlon.
Me too. Bring it to me too. I want to know.
But since I can't figure out how to control time, what I can control is the most valuable resource, my attention. See, entrepreneurs, your most valuable resource is your attention. And I can guarantee you're probably leaking it. And you don't even realize.
I'm leaking.
She's like, I'm leaking. It's true. And like, I learned this analogy. If y'all, there's a gentleman out there by the name of Alex Hormozi, great guy, puts out amazing content. I highly recommend his stuff. And he spoke about this, and it resonated with me so loudly. He spoke about marbles of attention. So I'm going to use this analogy. I got it from him. I like to give credit where credit's due, at least where I've heard things. And so I want everyone to think about themselves as a person that has a boatload of marbles. You're holding marbles in your hand. And when you go out and you say, you know what, I'm going to start that real estate business. You take some of those marbles and you put them over here on your real estate business. Then you say, oh, but you know what? I also want to hang out with my friends. So I put some marbles of attention to my friends. And then I put some marbles of attention on my new dance classes. And I put some marbles of attention on my kids. And I put some marbles of attention on my W-2. And I put some marbles of attention. Ooh, Gator lending, marbles of attention. Family housing, marbles of attention. Ooh, wholesale real estate, marbles of attention. Ooh, I also want to buy a business, marbles of attention. Ooh, I also want to fly a plane, marbles of attention. Ooh, I also want to learn how to rock climb, marbles of attention. Now we're out of marbles.
I got no marbles.
But it's nice and spread out. I'm diversified. This is good. Now, here's what happens because it's life. I'm over here looking at my beautiful marbles, and then, oh my gosh, my real estate business, it's catching on fire right now. It's literally something's happening. And all right, you know what? It's going to cost me 7 marbles of attention to put that fire out. But I have no more marbles left. So what do I need to do? Now I've got to start taking marbles of attention from other areas of my life. So, you know what? All right, I'll take some marbles from the kids and I'll take some marbles from rock climbing and I'll put it over here. And am I shutting off the kids in rock climbing? No, I'll be back. So I'm still keeping my eyes over there and I'm putting the marbles of attention on my fire that's happening in this business. And then this other business, someone presents an opportunity to me and I need to put some marbles of attention over there. Okay, let me grab that from my girlfriend and let's grab that from the wholesale operation and bring it over here. And so now my wholesale operation is screaming for my marbles back and I'm like, oh, crap. So let me grab it from this place. And I'm trying to shift these marbles around. And you can all see that eventually all of my opportunities are going to be catching on fire. And these fires might be small problems, but they seem big relative to me because I don't have the marbles of attention. I don't have the literal bandwidth and horsepower to even address these small problems. So small problems now become big problems, not because they're big problems, but because I don't actually have the fuel. I don't have the thing necessary to put these fires out. And what we start to find is when we get to higher and higher levels of entrepreneurship, it's not about saying yes to more things. It's actually about saying no to more things and pulling my marbles back and holding them tight. Because when I have my marbles and an issue pops up in my business, it doesn't seem so big anymore because I have the literal bandwidth to be able to say and look at it, oh, this is what we need to do. And I can simply solve the problem. So entrepreneurs are spending that. They're leaking it without even realizing it. But I want to hear your question.
Well, I have a question. So should we change our word of the week to no so we can keep our marbles?
I think that should be the word of the year.
Word of the year.
You know, I came from, so this past weekend, we had so much stuff about Mastermind. And there was one thing that was talked about, and I would love your feedback on this, that, you know, we do get those distractions like social media and whatever. And for those of us who've kind of tasted success, I started to think about what if I'm self-sabotaging? So so not necessarily an alignment. Well, I guess it would be an alignment issue to some extent, like a self-identity issue. But I caught myself this week several times where I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not doing it. Is this me self-sabotaging? And then the minute I asked myself that, I got on task. So what are your thoughts about that?
And when you say self-sabotaging with the opportunities, do you mean self-sabotaging by saying yes to the opportunities?
Yeah, like I'm choosing to do something else rather than the thing that's actually going to help me stay focused and make, you know, my money-making activities. Like last night, I was like, I told myself I was going to make calls every single day. And I was busy on Instagram instead. So even though I called after 8, which is something I don't typically do, I still called in. I had great conversations with agents, but like I did it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have done it earlier, but I was too busy on Instagram. Absolutely.
So in a case like that, I would say that's the beginning parts of self-sabotage, because ultimately when we make up our minds on what we're going to do, and this is where the focus comes in and the prioritizing happens, if something's a priority, if I acknowledge that this is a needle moving activity and this is the most important thing I should be doing, I want to get it done as quickly as possible. I want to get it out of the way so that later on I can do the other things knowing that I've already taken care of the most important thing. So I believe every day people, and I use a basic number, 3. I think we get 3 strong decisions to make per day. When I say strong decisions, I'm talking your mental capacities being used, actual problem solving decisions, actually using your mental bandwidth and your willpower to stay locked in and focused on a task before mental fatigue starts to kick in. You get 3 of those on average. Some people, I've seen them with the ability to solve more higher level problems. And I'm not talking basic problems. I'm talking the things that take a person's actual focus to sit down and problem solve, to come up with creative solutions on deals, to have tough and difficult conversations. We get about 3 of those on average. So finding out what those tasks are for you and your business and your goals and tackling them as soon as you possibly can in the day, once your day allows you to, taking care of it first. Because the tendency is to do the other things first, and we start spending our mental bandwidth early. And mental bandwidth, it's not an infinite supply. It runs out. It's like your physical body. If you run too much, at some point you've got to stop and you have to rest. At some point you need to let your mind recoup. So keeping this in mind, anyone ever use, and you two tell me, have you ever used a to-do list? And you had maybe 20, 30, 40 things on your to-do list. And hell, you might have even gotten everything done on the to-do list. You might have crossed out everything. And at the end of the day, you still had that feeling like I didn't do anything.
Absolutely. So very rarely, but sometimes.
Yeah. I'm like, if it's that many things, no, I probably feel real good about myself, to be honest.
So I've had the happen where I've actually done the opposite. Like I've crossed out 20 things on my to-do list, but at the end of the day, I still felt like I feel like I really didn't get anything done though, because what happened was the things on my to-do list were minor items.
Yeah.
I was going to say, were they moving the needle forward on your goals, or was it just like, hey, make the bed, do the laundry?
So
I make Mark do that. That's why my to-do list looks better.
There we go.
Just kidding.
Delegated.
Sometimes we do busy work to keep ourselves moving, but moving where? Right? Like running on a hamster wheel is moving, but where are you going?
Yeah.
So I look at the needle moving, the prioritized work, what actually matters, right? Like being here on this podcast, this is a needle moving activity. This is a priority. Being here, people viewing this show, they're learning. This is a priority. But watching Netflix, that's work. You're doing something, but is it all that important? Is what you're doing all that important? So really being able to prioritize the work that you're doing is going to be absolutely critical, because that's your ability to bring it full circle, concentrate your attention. It is so absolutely critical that you learn to concentrate your attention as an entrepreneur. And if you're like Marlon, I don't even know where my attention's going, do an attention audit. This is something that I do with y'all in here in the house, something I do with myself every single Sunday. I calculate it down to the hours. I know how much time I'm sleeping. I know how much time I spend eating. I know how much time I spend working. I know how much time I spend on money-making activities. I know how much time I spend, down to a percentage. I can pull it up within 30 seconds. I can show you my percentage of where I'm spending my time, even to the place where I have unaccounted, I call it unaccounted for hours. This means I have time on my calendar that I don't even know what I did with that time, which if I'm saying I don't have enough time to get things done, well, bro, you have 8 unaccounted for hours in your week. And you said you didn't have enough time to do these other things. Sounds like you were slacking off. Because I'm not a perfect person, but I am progressive. I'm progressing.
I like that. I want to, before you continue on, I want to make this more bite-sized for everybody. And there's a few questions I want to get to as well. Marlon, you've been, I mean, I didn't start, one of the things I didn't start working on self-help until 2 years ago, really. So I feel like you started a little before me. Were you able to do these time audits when you, like, were you this dialed in on your time when you first got started?
Not even close. This is a great question, Caroline. This has been a progression. I've been working on personal development on myself, guinea pigging and experimenting on myself for just about a decade now. I'm 29. So I started personal development at the age of 19, really 18. And every year, every opportunity I get, I'm learning a little bit more about myself and getting myself to take action on the new information that I'm learning. So if y'all are getting into this in the beginning, start with baby steps. Start with making up your bed. Start with building these tiny little habits. Build little victories for yourself.
Small wins.
And as those little small wins stack up, don't even call them small. Just as your wins stack up, you're a winner. If I win over and over and over, that makes me a winner.
That's what you're telling yourself.
It's what you're telling yourself. Even more important, it's what you actually believe because you have evidential proof of it.
I'm hearing this song. All I do is win, no matter what. Sorry.
Like one of those sound.
Yeah, I do that one. We just need to put like music to it. But
can we do that on YouTube, or they're gonna fine us for copyright infringement? They're like, that's not your song.
You said there are more questions. I do want to make sure that we spend some time on this amazing program that Marlon is going to have at the end of June, and I want to give it all the time it needs. So, what do you think, Caroline? Kind of address that now, or should we take a couple more questions?
I think I can get through these questions pretty quickly, and then I was going to actually bring us into that. So,
okay.
And I see that Sam talked about this, and I love Alex Hormozi because I listen to Alex Hormozi podcasts because they're like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I was actually thinking that, like, we need to do little bite-sized pieces. But Alex, what Sam said in the side chat here is Alex Hormozi hired a coach for like 9 months just to help him track what he spent his time thinking about. That is insane. So just like he's like a focus coach, helping him stay focused on things. But Gary, who's also Island Dreams, who's on my Instagram Live. So if you guys are on Instagram Live, hop over to YouTube so you can see your questions.
Come to YouTube.
Do you just pick the top 3 things? So like when you were picking those items, you have this big to-do list of 20 things. How do you choose what's important? Are you only choosing 3? Or are you choosing 5? What if I have 10 really important things to do, Marlon? Should I try and get them all done on Monday? Or should I space out like what's the bleeding neck issue that needs to happen first and then like delegate from there?
So the short answer is just 3 things. There's a reason for that. Because if I ask a person, where is the tightest point on the bottleneck, right? Like it's the top. There's only one tightest point of the bottleneck. So this is the piece that has to be cleared open for the rest of traffic to flow. When we're trying to address everything, we're trying to address all the stuff way in the back. Well, I just want to go to the roots. I want to go to the bottleneck and talk about that and deal with that. If a person's saying, well, Marlon, but I could do 10 things. Awesome. Great. Prove it by doing the top 3 things first. Get those things done. And then if you want to go tackle the next, have fun with it. At the end of the day, though, that's not what most people are doing. Most people are lying to themselves, telling themselves that they could do more. They put too much on their plate, and then they allow themselves to fail because they set an expectation that they couldn't live up to, that they couldn't work up to, that they didn't work up to, and then they begin to get disappointed. They begin to then view themselves as a failure. I always screw up. I always say I'm going to do it, but then I never follow through. Now the negative self-talk starts to kick in. I believe in dreaming big and setting small, achievable goals along the way. Right? Dream huge. Dream for $1 billion. But then set the goal. If you never earned $1,000, hey, my first goal might be to earn 1,000. Right? My first priority might be just to make that first phone call. I never called a seller before. First goal is just make the first call. And then I can build up. Tomorrow I can make 2 calls. However, that's your biggest needle mover. Focus on your biggest needle movers and don't be afraid of going slow in the beginning.
Ooh, that is perfect because I've gone over this twice today. So you heard it on the Daily Dial when you came in. I go through the Calm app and you heard what Jay Shetty told us. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Excuse me, I keep coughing here. That is such a big line. I was actually thinking like, I want to get bracelets with that. I just want to keep reminding myself that. When we start something new, we're not really good. And Marlon, I actually use you in my analogy. By the way, it might look like I'm drinking vodka, but this is water. This is my favorite water. Just so you guys know. Maybe it is vodka. No, but it's water. But the analogy that I used is yesterday when wholesale hotline night, when you drove us home, I had so much fun because I hadn't been in a stick shift car. And I was thinking, I don't know if anybody here has ever driven a stick shift or manual, however you want to say it. That's one of the cars I learned how to drive on. And my mom took me across town. I'm from Indiana where it's flat. There's no hills. We have one hill in our town on the road. And I remember when I was first day I was learning how to drive stick with her. And she puts me on this hill. Oh my gosh, I'm going to run this car into the car behind me. I don't know what I'm doing. But when you first start driving a stick shift car, if you guys have never driven stick or never driven manual, it's not smooth. Okay. It's like you kill the car, it dies and you got to do it again. Frustrating experience. But once you get the hang of driving a manual car, you're like, this is so smooth. So I told everybody, like, you took us home from a wholesale hotline. I have an automatic car now. And we got on the highway and we were going so fast. We were hanging out in second gear for a little bit and you finally put it into third. But I'm like, we're going so fast up to we got to like 80 miles per hour in no time. I was like, this is fun. But I'm sure the first time you started driving your car, you were not smooth. It was clunky. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. When you guys are learning a new skill, a new language, a new way to make money, give yourself that grace of realizing, like, I don't know how to drive stick. It's going to be clunky. It's not going to be smooth. But the more I slow down, I get the hang of, okay, clutch gas, clutch brake, everything moving smoother and slower. You're going to be able to quickly get into being that smooth as fast. So I love that you just said that. I've talked about it a bunch today, and I think that's very important. So having those goals and setting them down into bite-sized pieces is incredible.
I'm so glad 3 out of 3 in this YouTube know how to drive stick. That's
right?
Pretty
That's a life skill.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, look, you can't kidnap me in a I know how to drive away.
Next time I see you learn how to ride a motorcycle. I know the clutch thing. I got to get it down.
I got you.
Hey, there we go. So, but this leads me into the last question I wanted to get to, Ingrid.
I know how to drive a motorcycle.
Oh, nice. Well, let's go drive motorcycles. But this was one of our first questions, which is going to lead us into this awesome opportunity. And before we talk about what's happening at the end of the month, I just want to say, because I know that you get coaching from Marlon, I get coaching from Marlon. One of my favorite things that I've been going over is the book Asking Questions the Sandler Way, and I told you about it. Guys, you think about it, this is very important. Every person has a coach. Kobe Bryant had a coach. LeBron James has a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach. Michael Phelps had a coach. Marlon Johnson has a coach. Ingrid and I both have coaches. If you want to accelerate and you want to cut the curve down much faster and get to your goals and like be able to manifest things, don't go alone. You're going to go you're going to go alone. You might get a piece of the grape, but if you work with somebody else, you're going to slice that watermelon and it's going to be faster. And like, I got to see, like, I was watching Marlon when he was getting super zoned in on his David Goggins stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't want to do that part. I mean, but I do like what he's doing over here. And you get to see what other people are doing. I was like, he's going a little too hard. I'm not running in the middle of the heat. I'm not trying to get a heat stroke, but you know,
so in the sun.
I'm out for like 5 minutes.
Her IG story earlier today when she's talking and she goes,
like, oh, my ginger eyes.
I was
too high. Blue eyes are sensitive. What I want to say though is get a coach and have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, and have somebody who can call you out on your bullshit. Right? Ingrid, one of my favorite conversations we had, I was complaining to you, and you're like, "Do you have victim mindset right now?" Or I was like, "Yeah, I am being a little baby. Like, I shouldn't let me do this."
Just yesterday, what were you kids thinking about doing? And then Mama Ingrid came in the picture.
Hey, you know what? You're only young ones. I want to go cliff jumping, and damn it, I'm gonna do it. So
and I was like, we have leads to call.
You're right. Hey, we're making money. We're making money, but you got to have that campfire. You got to have that circle. And I just again want to say this. Marlon is somebody like we already talked about him being like a father to my children. So like Marlon is that guy. Have the opportunity. I know it's crazy, right? I don't know like DNA wise, but definitely like he'll be the father figure. Anyways, but back to the point. The question was from Karina at the very beginning of this podcast. She asked, for the Mindset Manor thing, where do we stay? A local hotel? What the heck is this Mindset Manor thing?
Yep. So what we're doing is at the end of the month of June, so June 30th, July 1st, and July 2nd, that's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're doing a mastermind here at the Mindset Manor. I'm beyond stoked about it. This was the original plan that Ingrid and I had for this property, for it to be an incubator for entrepreneurs to really help them take things to the next level. And this is going to be a 3-day experience. A part of it's going to be coming. You're going to be sitting down. I'm going to be going through things that I've learned over the last 10 years, working with Dean Graziosi, working with Tony Robbins. A lot of people don't know, actually, those are some of my first mentors in entrepreneurship. Like, those were before real estate and Sub2 and Pace Morby. I actually was in Dean Graziosi's Knowledge Broker Blueprint course. I'm still a part of that community. A lot of people just don't know that because I don't really talk about that often, but that's where I learned a lot of the skills that I have nowadays, where I work with people to help them unlock their level. And we're going to be doing really cool things. I'm going to be breaking down mindset. I'm bringing in some top level 7, 8, and 9-figure earners to come, and we've asked them to come and share their time. So they're going to be coming in. We're going to be doing live podcast interviews and just live Q&A with them. And here's the thing. I got to emphasize this. It's not going to be a breakdown on the technicals on how to build their business, because the technicals are already out there. Everyone knows what the technicals are already. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a deep dive into you as an individual. It's going to be a deep dive into you understanding more about yourself. And my favorite part is we're going to be doing some physical evolutions. So I'm going to be taking people through runs. I'm going to be taking them out on hikes. We have a professional breath work coach who's going to be coming to the property, and they're going to be doing breath work each morning. And we're building an ice bath specifically for people for this event. We're going to be feeding them when they get here. So I'm beyond stoked. I'm beyond excited about it. Right now, we already have the wait list open, and we had a little over 30 people already sign up for the wait list, which is insane when we started talking about people coming out. For real.
Hey.
She doesn't even know that yet.
I have directed people to the link in my bio. Hopefully it's in yours too, but let's see.
Yeah, so if people are interested in that, the easiest way to go find it is go to my Instagram, Mindset Marlin, go to the Instagram and click on my link in my bio. It's going to bring you to my link tree, and the very first link is going to be for the Mindset Manor Mastermind. And ooh, look at that. My Instagram is coming up on the screen.
Boom, baby. You know I got this. I was like,
Norway.
So check it out. If Caroline clicks that link right there, you're going to see it's going to bring you to my link tree. And the very first button is the Mindset Manor Mastermind. If they click on that, it's going to be a very simple form for you to get on the wait list. We're going to be announcing, essentially, we're just setting up the back end so that we can process payments. It is going to be a paid event. It's going to be a small group. We're only opening it to no more than 15 people. Odds are I'm kind of pushing for us to keep it at 10. I actually want it to be very small, very intimate, and I'm excited about this. So if people are interested, go there. I'm going to start reaching out to people at the beginning of next week to follow up, because a part of it also is going to be, I will be vetting the individuals that are coming out to it to make sure that we have the right folks who are ready to really get the most value from this situation. So this is going to be a fun time.
So Marlon, so the manor, because the question was, where would you stay? So for those 3 days.
Totally missed that question.
For the, I'm supposed to update my reel. My alarm went off. So the, we're still talking about it, right? We're going to make up maybe 2 rooms where folks can stay. That'd be like at an extra charge though.
Yeah. So we're potentially opening it up to folks where like 2 VIP tickets for them to stay in the house with us. And then everyone else will be able to stay locally here in Arizona.
Yeah.
If people need access to Airbnbs or if they need access to hotels, we have recommendations and people we can connect them with.
Yeah.
But a majority of the people will be staying off site.
Yeah.
For this round.
Yeah. This property is located in a really amazing area here in Gilbert. Like, we're literally across the street from the Santan Mall, and
there's so many hotels.
All
there's
kinds of hotels. Yeah, plenty of places to be. So it won't be more than a mile away if you're staying somewhere, just because of how much is around here. But yeah.
But I want to jump in and just,
Nice. All right.
The one thing I wanted to say for everybody, if you're thinking about this, because I know you said you already have a lot of people, and I see that Andrew's interested, Sam's interested in coming. If it's not 100% a hell yes, I wouldn't do this. You know, there's certain things that I've gotten the point, like, to where I'm like, okay, if I'm not all the way in, I'm not going to commit anymore. But I'm going to tell you this, and I said this on my Instagram story if you guys were on earlier today. When I started focusing on myself and my self-development, I got out of the victim mindset and I started making the most money I've ever made in my life. I started having really like as adults, I don't know about you guys, if you're all watching this or you're watching a recording after the fact, if you're live with us or not, finding friends that have the same goals and principles as you as an adult, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to make friends like that. Get into a circle that you want to be around. Again, Marlon, you make me uncomfortable because you show me we both were broke back in December of 2020, and you were able, you focus faster than me, and you have a higher net worth than me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have been wearing all of those hats and getting distracted. And the sooner you're self-aware and you can call yourself out and you're like, am I self-sabotaging? And you're aware of what's happening. It's the difference for like the Matrix from taking that red pill and that blue pill. Now you know, and you can call things out. And then, I mean, I'm sure when you're there, you're going to find more people you can connect with that are in the same boat as you. So when you can get to a mastermind, one of my things is every quarter I go to a mastermind. Whatever mastermind I'm in, I want to be around people that are doing more than me because I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So if you feel like you're on the fence, don't go and half-ass anything. Go all in and commit, and you're going to get the most out of it. So that's all I wanted to say. I will get that mastermind.
I don't think it's the smartest person in the room anymore. People use that metaphor quite a bit, or analogy, like don't be this. I actually think it's the most focused people in the room. One of the things that Marlon helped me reorient once was he's like, I'm more impressed with people who can get everything they have to get done within 4 or 5 hours, and then the rest of the day is theirs to do with whatever. And I was like, that's way more impressive than the person who grinds the 12, 14 hours. And by the way, everything has a time, right? Maybe when you're first getting started, you're putting a lot of grind into it. But if you don't move into the systematizing and organizing and then really helping yourself scale and scale out of things like that. So now I'm looking for those rooms where people really focus on mindset and then how do I narrow my focus so I can expand my reach, right? So I think that's way more impressive now. You could be I was talking to this entrepreneur who's really good friends with Pace. We went to his after party thing, right? Through the mastermind. He's like, look, I'm the dumbest beep you've ever met. But one thing I am is focused. He's like, I have a to-do list and I know exactly what I'm doing every day. And honestly, that was such a mind-blowing thing to me because I've equated intelligence so much as a thing to strive for. And the dumbest people I know make the most money in this business.
And this is why I'm looking forward to this mastermind, because this mastermind is going to be more experiential based. I love, you both know me. I can talk about mindset till I'm blue in the face. I literally never get bored of the conversation. However, it doesn't make a difference in a person's life until they start applying it. And so a big part of this mastermind, and I'm saying this right now as a way of telling people, don't come if you're not willing and ready to actually start applying the principles. Because when I say, hey, you're going to get uncomfortable, I mean you're going to get uncomfortable that weekend while you're here. There are certain things I was telling Ingrid that I want to do with people. She's like, I don't know if people are going to want to do that. I'm like, well, if they don't want to do that, they shouldn't. They shouldn't come. Just don't show up if you're not ready to push yourself. If you're not ready to be uncomfortable, this isn't the one yet. This is not for starting.
Yeah.
If you've already started, though, you've gotten some traction and you want to accelerate, perfect. Get your ass over here. Hit the link in my bio. And let's have a conversation and see if this is for you.
Love that. There's one question in here, and I think we're going to be able to answer this. Mina said, I see the form, but where do I go to find more info, like the cost and the location? So if you guys don't know, it's going to be in Gilbert, Arizona. What was the date of the mastermind, Marlon?
June 30th, July 1st, and July 2nd.
June 30th, July 1st, and 2nd. And then the cost is something that you'll talk to them on the phone about?
Well, I can tell them right now. Are we cool sharing the cost?
Go for it.
So the cost this first time around, it's going to be $2,500 because we're working with the beta test group. I know. We're going we're making this pretty affordable for people.
Yeah.
And I'm just being totally transparent. The reason we're doing this is that first round of people, y'all get to be the beta test. So y'all are the beta test of individuals for the first Mindset Manor Mastermind. And then after that, we already know the price is going up. I mean, this is literally the cheapest sort of coaching I will ever do for the rest of
That's insane. That's real. I was expecting you guys to say like 5,000. Wow, 2,500. That's a steal. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
Okay. June 30th, July 1st, and 2nd as the mastermind. $2,500. But you got to be dope and you got to be willing to work on yourself and fill out the form on both of your link trees and your Instagram bios.
That's right.
Easy money. Okay. All right. Anything else you're going to say about that? Because I want to end the podcast with asking Marlon fun questions.
I'm good unless Ingrid has anything she wants to add on that. I'm just excited for it. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm excited. I mean, what I did want to add is you're going to get, this is going to be focused on mindset. We're going to do some cool what'd you call it? Experiential.
Experiential. I don't think that's it. We're doing something experimental.
I'm just excited, but we're going to feed you. There's going to be a lot of amenities here at the property. If you haven't seen the property, Marlon actually has a YouTube episode on his channel, so you can check out what the Mindset Manor looks like. But more than anything, I'm just so excited to get to do it with my friends. Like, honestly, it's Marlon that's leading the charge. I just get to ride the wave that he creates. So.
Yeah, and guys, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put together a video that will have a more detailed breakdown for any of the people that are a little bit more analytical and like, hey, I need to know exactly what we're doing and exactly what the itinerary is. And don't worry, you'll know all of that stuff. I'll make a video. I'll break it down. I'll explain it to you. Yeah. And if you're someone that's like me and you're like, yeah, I can feel this, like this energy feels right. This feels like the thing I need to do to go do the next level. Because that's how I operate. It's very much like if it feels like it's the right thing to do, I'm done thinking about it. Let's go. I want to get to my goal faster. Sign me up. I'm on board.
Easy money. All right, here we go. We'll wrap up on time today. Marlon, I asked you this actually, I think, so I want to hear it again for everybody on this podcast. If you could go back to any time in your life, childhood, whatever, talk to yourself for 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to get a message across. When would you go back and what would you say to yourself?
All right, so I teeter-totter. I don't want to give you the answer that I wouldn't go back because truly I do love where I am. So if I had to go back and I'm traveling through time, I'm going back to, quite frankly, I'm probably going to go back to about 16, somewhere between 16 and 18 as I'm finishing up high school. And I'm going to go let myself know that be you, be authentically you, and do not care about what other people think. Because those same people that are hating on you, those same people that you're worried about trying to impress, in a few years, they're going to be reaching out to you, asking you for advice. They're going to be asking you to show them how to do things. So if I can get myself to understand that sooner, all I think it would have done is it would have allowed me to act on what's been inside of me the entire time earlier. And I just would have saved time and I'd be a little bit deeper in the journey right now.
We told people to read. I also have another question. What are your top 3 book recos?
Top 3 book recommendations. So it always depends on what a person's trying to accomplish. But I could tell you my most paradigm shifting books for me. One's an absolute classic, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I'm going to also just couple it with Outwitting the Devil as well. Both of these books are written by Napoleon Hill. What up, Isla? Both of these books are written by Napoleon Hill. So go read those 2. The second book I would recommend, it's so hard to only give 3. The second book I would recommend would have to be, I'm going to go with The Go-Giver because I like books that read like stories. And then I'm going to give it the third book to The Alchemist. Those are 3 books. I like books that read like stories because stories are how I learn. So Napoleon Hill's, that's a little bit more of a technical book, but The Go-Giver and The Alchemist are very storytelling books.
I haven't read The Alchemist. But
what's The Alchemist about for everybody, just as a quick kind of overview?
The Alchemist, you could think of
what did you take away?
It's a story about a young man who learns to follow his dream, like to follow his internal desire. And that's actually the book I listened to when I was driving cross country. And the day when I was leaving Denver and my car got broken into and everything I owned got robbed, I listened to that book. Like I had like an internal calling to listen to that book. It was like, well, I literally just lost everything I own. And like, I'm down to like, I have like $3,000 in my bank account again. And I literally have 1 suitcase now. Like I'm driving across the country with 1 suitcase. And I felt called to listen to The Alchemist. And it just reminded me that, yeah, along this journey, you're going to lose things. And that's cool because you didn't come here for those like little insignificant things along the way. You came here for the journey. You came here for the joy of it. You came here for your treasure.
Isla, do you have any questions for Marlon, Isla B?
I have a question for Isla. So this is the 13-year-old we told you guys about at the beginning of the episode. Isla, you just finished your first round of cold calling. How was it?
Long.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to just sit there and just have everybody declining your calls and declining your calls and declining your calls, and then you get there, and then I feel like it's so hard. Like you just can't mess up at that point. If once you get a call that answers.
Good takeaway. So,
But
what did you?
get your first appointment?
Yep.
Let's
Yeah?
go.
Just one?
Call 2, I think.
2. Okay.
Let's go. Yeah.
That's not bad for your first time cold calling. I remember I talked to you yesterday and I said the goal is to get no's. And every time you get a no, think of it as $400. So it changes it up a little bit.
So she just called for 2 hours. And if you guys saw my story yesterday, one of the things that was really sort of especially if you're a perfectionist, and I tend to be, you think of consistency as the set of actions that are like 100% every single time, right? But consistency just means you're taking action towards your goal. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little, because maybe things are not as aligned as you'd like, and then sometimes it's a lot. Consistency can look this way. It doesn't have to be perfect like we think every day, especially, it doesn't have to be that exact way. Yeah.
I took a screenshot of it yesterday. I was like, that's so good.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it was a really great visual because I think we think of consistency has to be perfect consistency every day, and it doesn't. So Isla, you just called for 2 hours. So your goal should be to call between an hour and 2 every day. It doesn't have to be a perfect calling commitment. So just to get started.
I love that. I'm actually going to even tag on to that and say one more thing. So I saw, who was it? I can't remember where I saw it, but this guy talked about spending time with his kid, his son, and every day he spent 5 minutes playing soccer with him, helping him out with soccer, instead of doing like 2 hours once a week or whatever it was at one time where it could possibly get missed. So every day when he'd get home from work, he spent 5 minutes with his son, whereas other kids only practice and practice. So what is 5 times 7?
35.
Okay, so every week his son got an extra 35 minutes of practice, where the other kids were only practicing during practice time with the team. So he accelerated much further than them. So just think of things as, how can I get this to all add up over a period of time? So it doesn't have to be perfect every day. It's not an extra hour with your dad. It's just 5 minutes working on those skills.
Just made me think of another book.
Let's hear it.
The Compound Effect.
That's a good one.
One of my favorites.
Hit up Marlon for all of your book recommendations. All right. Isla, we just finished up another episode of Explain It. We want everybody to like this and share this with people. What should we say to them if they got any value?
You need to contact Marlon, Ingrid, and Caroline.
Easy enough.
This was free 99. So give it up for Marlon. Go follow him on his socials, Mindset Marlon on Instagram and YouTube. I'm your co-host, Ingrid Hernandez, with the Caroline Kane. That's incredibly Isla there. We tried a channel for her, but whatever. So go follow us on our socials. Make sure you're sharing this, especially if you got value. And again, if you're thinking about joining us for the Mindset Manor Mastermind at the end of June, we would love to have you with us. So
yeah. Thank you guys. One thing I want to say before you sign off on anything, take the time when you're being focused, write down one thing that you took away from this. Write down just one nugget that you have. You're going to retain it a lot more if you physically use pen and paper. And with that, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing this with people. And if you would like us to talk about anything particularly, or if you want us to bring anybody on here, let us know on Instagram. Let us know in the comments here. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.